So should you take a cocktail making class if you want to get better at home bartending, if you want to really improve your skills? Well, in this video, I'm going to be answering that exact question. So stick around if that's something that you're really interested in learning about. For those of you that don't know, my name is Ram Virpan. I'm a full-time medical doctor. I've been home bartending for 6 years now. During that time, I've learned how to make over 150 different cocktails and I've thrown over 60 cocktail parties. And I teach other busy professionals like myself how to make cocktails at home. And if you're really interested in getting your home bartending, like how I was all the way back, pre-June 2020 when I made my very first cocktail, I had really thought about getting into cocktails through the use of cocktail making classes, cocktail making courses, whether they're in person or online. And that's something that you're probably considering as well. And if you really want the quick and dirty answer, I think that it really depends on your purpose. I think that if your purpose with a cocktail making class is pure education, learning how to actually make cocktails, then I think the answer is certainly no when it comes to answering that question of should you take a cocktail making class. If your purpose is purely entertainment, you go there as an event with your friends, you go there with your family, maybe you do it as part of like a bachelor or bachelorette party, for example, some group event, and you're just there purely for entertainment, to have a few nice cocktails, to have some fun with your friends, I think it's absolutely a worthwhile experience in that case. And during these past 6 years of home bartending, I've actually only taken one cocktail making class ever before. And that was last year, almost 5 years into my journey. And it was part of, I was doing a solo group travel. What that means is basically like I was solo traveling, but I joined a bunch of other solo travelers. So it was basically like a group trip. But it was part of that group trip. There was a cocktail making class. It was a group trip to Mexico City. So we were learning a lot of like tequila and mezcal based cocktails. And I would honestly say that that experience was really fun. So was it really fun? Absolutely. Was it a great way to bond with the other people in my group? Absolutely. Did we have amazing cocktails? Absolutely. Did I learn anything practical that I could then take back to my own home bartending experience, that I could then share with you guys on YouTube, that I could then make cocktails with at home? Absolutely no to all of those different questions. And again, this was nearly 5+ years into my home bartending journey. I think if you're an absolute beginner to home bartending, it's even more likely that you're not going to be able to use anything from that experience, that you're not going to be able to do anything practical, get any tips, tricks, get any useful recipes, anything like that when it comes to actually making practical cocktails. In my entire journey, I've been pretty much self-taught. What that means is like I've learned from basically YouTube. I watched tons of YouTube videos on cocktails, on how to make different cocktails, on the history of cocktails, on recipes, on what ingredients to buy, what tools to buy, all these different things. And that's how I learned home bartending. And over the years, I've also read a few books on the topic. I've read stuff online on different like blogs and different articles online, things like that. So that's how I've learned home bartending, from books, from YouTube videos primarily. And the purpose of this channel is for you guys to also be able to learn that way, from my YouTube videos specifically, because mine are geared to home bartenders that are also busy professionals like myself. And I think that's really the best way to learn, because I think it's going to be the most practical. You can watch these videos and read these books on your own time, and you can actually get takeaways. You can actually get practical recipes that you can then go out to the liquor store and the grocery store, buy those ingredients, and actually go ahead and make those different cocktails. The real problem with these cocktail making classes is, although they're super fun, you make great cocktails, all these different things like that, a lot of them, you're not even measuring your ingredients. You're using fancy syrups like vanilla lavender syrup or all these crazy things. You're using fancy ingredients, and you're really not forming a foundation. You're not really learning foundational cocktails like the old fashioned or the martini or the margarita, daiquiri, things like that. You're not learning these fundamental cocktails. You're not learning what equipment to buy, what tools to buy. You're not learning what important books you should read. You're not learning how different cocktails are related to each other, which, books like The Joy of Mixology by Gary Regan or Cocktail Codex by the Death & Co group. These different books and stuff like that, they teach you how to group cocktails so that you're not just memorizing recipes. You're actually learning how all these different recipes relate. You take a new cocktail and you can relate it to previous existing cocktails. That's stuff that you only get from books and from YouTube videos that are dedicated to these types of things. In these cocktail making classes, the purpose of the cocktail making classes is really to have a fun experience for everyone involved, for the hosts and for all the different guests involved. So I think if your purpose is purely entertainment, you're going to it as part of a group experience when you're traveling to another country. You're doing it as part of like an event for team building event after work with your coworkers, something like that. You're doing it as part of a bachelor party or a bachelorette party. I think it's absolutely amazing for just pure entertainment. One day when I eventually get married, I'll probably do it as part of my bachelor party itself too. So I have no problem with these cocktail making classes in terms of just pure entertainment. But when it comes to actual nitty-gritty education, when it comes to actual practical tips about how to make quality cocktails, I think that they're a complete waste. And a lot of them are very expensive. They're often like $100, $200, $300, something like that. I think, for that money, it's better spent, purchasing a bunch of different cocktail making books. You can purchase The Joy of Mixology by Gary Regan. You can purchase Cocktail Codex. You can purchase Minimalist Tiki and Smuggler's Cove to learn about tiki. You can purchase, Sasha Petrosky's book regarding cocktails. All these different amazing cocktails that will teach you practical recipes that you can actually make. That'll teach you how to, organize all these different recipes, how to group cocktails together, how to understand the history of cocktails. Joy of Mixology is great on the history of cocktails in general. Smuggler's Cove will teach you all the history of tiki itself, just tiki specifically in terms of that area of cocktail making. So you read these different books, you'll actually understand history, you'll understand recipes, you'll understand how cocktails are grouped together. And that's really like how my mind works now, all these years later. I got it all through reading these books. That teaches you real theory, and then you watch different YouTube videos like myself or from other bartending YouTubers to actually learn the recipes, to learn what equipment to buy, to learn how to actually, you watch somebody making the cocktail. That's how you can replicate that. You can learn how to make the cocktail itself. You can learn all these different tricks, how long to shake a cocktail, how long to stir a cocktail, what tools you should buy, which ingredients you should buy, like what bottle of orange liqueur should you buy, what bottles of Amaro should you buy, what bottles of vermouth should you buy, which brand should you use for vodka, gin, rum, all these different practical tips and tricks. You can only get that from somebody else who's like, basically with YouTube, it's like you're getting one-on-one coaching. You're getting a video that teaches you a specific thing, and then you move on to the next video that'll teach you a specific thing. I would love for you guys to watch my videos, but there's also tons of other great bartending YouTubers. Watch all of us, learn different things from each of us, learn certain things from myself, learn things from other bartending YouTubers, put that stuff together. I think that's going to really make you a well-rounded, balanced bartender. And that'll do it a lot quicker, a lot more efficiently, a lot more cost-effectively than any cocktail making class out there. Again, they're perfectly fine if you just want entertainment, if you want to have a good time, you want to have a team building experience, you want to have some fun with your friends, your coworkers, your loved ones, whatever the case may be, or in my case, just strangers trying to make new friends, things like that. Whatever the case may be, those are great for just pure entertainment. But for education, nothing will beat, honestly, YouTube and physical books when it comes to learning all the different things about home bartending. Anyways, that's all the advice I have for this video. If you found the advice in this video helpful, please subscribe to the channel. I like to do 2 styles of videos on this channel. The first one will be a tutorial where I show you guys how to make a specific cocktail. And then the second style video will be talking head style like this one. I answer questions about home bartending, go over tips and tricks, share stories of my own journey, things like that I hope will help you guys become better home bartenders. And finally, if you found the advice in this video helpful, even more helpful, and you want to take home bartending even more seriously, I actually have a paid community on school.com. That'll be the first link in the description below. Thank you. Cheers.